Have you ever thought about how small this world is? I feel like today is the day I felt it for the first time. $7-Eleven burger, gooseberries I got from the fruit market last night. These taste kind of like sweet pad thai. It's weird. It's like cherry tomatoes, but they're sweet and kind of taste like spices. And this probiotic yogurt. I had one of these yesterday and they were really good. Zero fat apparently, and sugar. This I haven't had before. I'll tell you how they taste in a minute. Kind of peppery. Not spicy, but the chicken's actually kind of juicy. I think I paid $40 for this. I paid that again. That's actually decent. Quite enjoy it. Kicking off the day, I got myself a 7-Eleven burger, and of course some fresh fruits from the night before. Because it's all in the name of balance. The coconut market was a fun stop, packed with handmade souvenirs, or at least apparently handmade souvenirs. And one of my favorite finds? Miniature models of Thai cuisine. Adorable, intricate, and oddly enough, sitting right next to tiny fast food replicas. Which I just found to be absolutely hilarious. The atmosphere here was chill and very laid back, perfect for spending the morning wandering about. No one even tried to hassle me. I didn't know what was going on. One of the highlights was walking through a actual working coconut farm. A cool experience, though. As you can see, Thai coconut farms have a traditional canal system, which makes them a bit of a challenge to walk through. And try not to fall in the water while you do so. It's a bit easier said than done, as everything's quite slippery. We also saw some baby goats, which were absolutely adorable. Don't get me wrong on that. Though I couldn't help but question the ethics of supporting a business where the animals seemed intentionally underfed just for tourists to feed them. It didn't quite sit right with me. It didn't stop me from filming my friends feeding them though. After that, it was time for some more mystery meat. A very welcome recurring theme on this trip. Honestly, I spent way less on meat here than I do for raw meat back home, which is just kind of wild. I just want to go back, honestly. Even though I'm not a huge fan of coconuts, the coconut ice cream was absolutely amazing. This place was a recommendation from our receptionist, and as usual, she knew exactly where we should check out. Then it was time for some temple hopping. We headed to the other side of the city from where the coconut farm was located, figuring that if we stopped there and made our way towards the city center, we'd see a ton, including of course more temples. The Silver Temple was definitely cool, but honestly it felt like we paid a bit too much for what we got. I will admit, I did appreciate all the efforts put in by the artisans to bring this place together. Not to mention it's the only silver temple in all of Thailand. Though the guy selling the tickets did try to scam my mate out of 50 bahts. Which was just a little annoying to have to deal with. Then after walking past a bunch of other temples that are nestled throughout the city, we made it to Wat Chedi Luang Varavihan, which took me about 20 different tries to get right, and you can tell me in the comments I suck at speaking Thai, but that was the best I could do. The temple sits right in the heart of Old Town. This temple was absolutely breathtaking. The massive ancient structure in the center, the fascinating Buddhist university and book depository on site. It would have been even more of a sight to behold if I could have seen the Emerald Buddha still sitting in there, or before the earthquake got to it in the 1500s. It was here where I used my superpower of being able to understand Korean and eavesdropped on a Korean tour group without them being the wiser, and learned a lot about the site as well. Though listening to my native tongue being spoken in a foreign country is always an interesting experience. Like I said, the world can be a very small place, though this temple made me feel very small as well. While I was here, my friends were pretty sick of looking at temples already, so they went and got a mani-pedi. I obviously preferred the temples. I bite my nails anyway, so you know, like, what's there to work on? And they weren't too interested, as they knew that they wouldn't be allowed into one of the main buildings of the temples for being a woman anyway. As we headed towards where the night market will be, we ran into a bunch more temples again, just kinda seemingly seamlessly integrated into the city. And when we got there, we had obviously gotten there a bit too early for the night market, as people were just arriving and starting to set up. So we grabbed some dinner, did a bit of people watching, just observing we were told it was the mountain village people who would come down here and make their sales. Which I do recollect when I was at the mountain village the day before. I did see some old ladies sitting together and sewing up some bags by hand. And I'm not sure if I saw them here, but I assumed they were making those to bring them down here to sell. After we had our dinner, we got a much needed massage after yesterday's walking around and today's walking around. And after our massage was done, it was perfectly in time for the market. Even though we had got there early, again on our receptionist's recommendation, as she said we would barely be able to walk around during peak times, the place was already absolutely packed. A sea of people, I can only describe it as that, swarmed the streets. It was honestly kind of overwhelming at first because I'm not used to large crowds like that coming from New Zealand. Though surprisingly, we only got separated 2 or 3 times, which, considering the crowd, I'd call a big win. Of course, we all had to buy some elephant pants because at this point it's basically a Thailand trip must do. I'm actually wearing it right now as I'm recording this voiceover. It's got a hole in it, but you know, I wasn't expecting a $5 pair of pants to last a long time. And we also saw some very unique stalls and foods. And my friend even got her hair done in a bun when she bought a hairpin. Though, funnily enough, she still hasn't figured out how to recreate it herself, and the hairpin sadly lied in her bag for the rest of the trip. You'll also see a lot of vendors making the items they're selling on the spot, like the glass artisan that I saw here. was a cool bit of display, and I really enjoyed my time there. Another cool thing about the market was how the buildings and temples lit up in the background, giving the whole place a completely different vibe from the daytime. Oh, and do you remember what I was saying about the world being a small place? As we were wandering through the crowds, we randomly ran into a couple from our cooking class. The cooking class we had in Chiang Mai. It's crazy how small the world can feel sometimes, but how vast it is too. What is the coincidence that in the sea of people, we would run into the same couple that we spent a few hours together at. I hope they're doing well. It just really reminded me that travel's about the people. About the people you meet, not just about the places you visit. When the world feels vast, I always feel small. But when the world feels small, I feel connected. Enough of that sappy stuff. Afterwards, we walked out, and then walked some more, and then we walked down a very beautifully lit street back towards our accommodation. What a memorable day this was. The night market is something I will compare every other market I ever visit for the rest of my life. Though having visited a bunch more markets on this exact same trip, I can't really imagine anything quite topping it, just in the sheer scale or the variety offered. I love the temples, though follow me along and I will show you ones that I loved even more. I hope you have a good day and take care of yourself. Cheers.